Music has always been a really big part of my life. I can't express enough that my life has mostly been about concerts or playing guitar myself. However, nothing has ever stunned me like this did in my entire life. I promised myself I would never be afraid of anything no matter the circumstances. But it's really hard, but it really is hard to live up to that promise, especially when something like this happens. I was in one of the music stores in Chicago where I was buying a random album for myself, only because music was a huge time waster for me, and anyone who knows me can tell you that I really enjoy doing that in my spare time. I came across the A section of the rock genre and walked my way down. I had seen bands such as Avenged Soldier and Alice in Chains, and even A Day to Remember. All of these bands I thought were great, but wasn't really into. As I passed the B section, I tried to remind myself that I wanted something new, something more unique that I have never heard before. I couldn't help but look at some of the bands that I was already familiar with, such as the Black Keys and Bullet for My Valentine. I quickly skipped a big proportion of B and to the C section and quickly locked my eyes on a band called Coldplay, and the album was titled Parachutes. I decided to get that since I had never listened to the band on the fair level. I thought it was perfect. I then looked a couple more rows to the right and saw another band called Coheed and Cambria. Right. After thinking to myself, what a weird band name, I knew that was something I could really get into, and by the look of all of the album's covers, it was a perfect match of what I was looking for. So as I was thinking about what album I should grab, I picked up a CD titled Year of the Black Rainbow and proceeded on my way to the counter to purchase the album and out the door to my car. When I made my way back home from the music store, I turned on my laptop, opened the CD, and popped them into the disk drive so I could download them to iTunes. As I placed the Coldplay CD in my laptop, I had no problem downloading the song into it. However, when my laptop sensed that Coheed and Cambria CD, it would crash every time I would try to download it. It took me about 5 or 6 times to download the thing, and as it finally downloaded into my iTunes, all of my music that I had in there were erased. At this point, I was pissed, only because I had spent at least 9 hours of music downloading and did not plan on doing that again anytime soon. I checked back on my iTunes only to find one album still remaining on my music list. The album was the Coheed and Cambria album I tried downloading, but failed to do so. In a bit of rage and anger, I slammed the laptop and went to take a nap. Hours later, I woke up and came down from my nap. I turned on my laptop and immediately went straight to iTunes, silently hoping that all of my music had returned to the music library. It was still the same as it was. The only album in the music library was the Coheed and Cambria album. So now that I had calmed down and cooled my anger, I convinced myself that I had nothing better to do but to listen to the music. So I started with the first song on the CD and worked my way through the whole thing. It was one hell of a CD. Each song has its own diverse and was really head-banging. The only thing that seemed to bother me was the guy's voice, but I could stand it. As it slowly lowered to one of the last songs titled The Black Rainbow, I noticed that the song after that wasn't mentioned on the CD case. The song was called You're Next. As the song The Black Rainbow was over, You're Next started to play. The first few seconds of the song sounded like a typical alien sound. Kind of like what you hear in the movies. As the song went on, the sound and screams of kids were heard. The screams and cries could be heard very clearly as they were yelling, "Stay away!" for the past minute and a half. At this point, you could hear the lead singer laughing as if he was looking at them and laughing as if they were in pain. I couldn't keep listening, but I felt I had to. The crying of the kids grew louder, and all you could hear is the sound of the lead singer laughing. And about 2 minutes into the track, I heard what sounded like a knife being sharpened and flesh being torn open. I was paralyzed throughout the whole thing. The quality of the sound was more clear than the rest of the CD itself. All of a sudden, my laptop crashed. In silence, there was nothing but silence. Pure silence. I couldn't move. I couldn't blink. I couldn't even blink. As I looked at the as I looked at the blank laptop screen, I noticed a slight sound coming from the speakers. This had made no sense, because the laptop had crashed. The sound had grown so loud at this point that there was no doubt in my mind that I could hear something. The noise sounded like the singer saying something, but it was in a loop. It was like you could only make out what he was saying if you played it backwards. The looping of the sound stopped, and from the very 3 seconds I glanced back up at my laptop, I saw a face of a mutilated child. I was so traumatized I can't even explain the facial and physical details of the child, but it was there. I vomited and left my house. I'm still not able to explain why it happened. I've tried everything, but every once in a while I will hear strange noises coming from my laptop. It's been 2 years since the event, and I can say right now that this will never stop haunting me. I have lost my job because of this, and every night I lose sleep over the voices I hear. I have talked with some of the fans of the band, and they have stated that not once have they experienced this. No matter how hard I try, I can't even find this song again. It's as if You're Next never existed. I have contacted excuse me. I have contacted the lead singer of the band, but he clearly stated that he had no idea what I was talking about. It's funny, because he has never responded back to me since then.